My voice is all but gone, and has been for a number of days, but already behind with these projects. I am making an attempt to proceed with recording. One of the principal characteristics of How to Win Friends and Influence People is how its author, Dale Carnegie, consistently outlines the negative aspects of humanity, writing as he does, as I have previously covered, about how people are ruled by emotion, are motivated by pride and vanity, and are generally only concerned with their own interests. Here, Carnegie repeatedly pulls from psychology, referencing, both directly and indirectly, the likes of Sigmund Freud and William James, and his teachings in turn focus on how his reader can play into these negative aspects of humanity to get what they want. Additionally, Carnegie then consistently attempts to justify his resulting rules for how to manipulate other people by referring to the name and words of Jesus Christ, despite the clear fact that his instructions are in serious conflict with Christ's own teachings. So if you find even the mere mention of Christianity abhorrent, you'll want to turn away. But I find this dynamic fascinating. And to reiterate, my ultimate focus for any topic here is about how our culture has devolved over time. Justifying his rule for how to make people like you instantly, make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. Carnegie writes, Jesus summed it up in one thought, probably the most important rule in the world. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. You want the approval of those whom you come in contact. You want recognition of your true worth. You want a feeling that you are important in your little world. You don't want to listen to cheap, insincere flattery, but you do crave sincere appreciation. You want your friends and associates to be, as Charles Schwab puts it, hearty in their approbation and lavish in their praise. All of us want that. So let's obey the golden rule and give unto others what we would have others give unto us. Again, how do you get what you want from other people? According to Carnegie, by making them want to give it to you. As Carnegie writes, there is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. Did you ever stop to think of that? Yes, just one way, and that is by making the other person want to do it. And so, why follow the golden rule? Because that is one of the avenues you can take to get what you want from other people. Because, as Carnegie continues, to condense the aforementioned passage on what Jesus supposedly taught, you want, you want, you want, you don't want, you want. Make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. Where is the sincerity here? Apparently it lies in all the things you want, and it has nothing to do with the other person at all. Think whatever you would like about Christ and his teachings, but this runs counter to his actual message of putting others first. Carnegie also tries to preface his rules in terms of other ancient wisdom, but he constantly places this in the context of where such wisdom stood, chronologically speaking, in terms of Christ. 100 years before Christ was born, a famous old Roman poet, Publius Cyrus, remarked, "We are interested in others when they are interested in us." So if you want people to like you, rule 1 is, become genuinely interested in other people. And I have covered this rule at length, just like Carnegie's concept of sincerity. Being genuinely interested in other people equates to being interested in them only to the extent that you can get what you want from them, namely, their money. Similarly to the aforementioned example, after referencing Aesop's fable, The North Wind and the Sun, Carnegie writes, Aesop was a Greek slave who lived at the court of Croesus and spun immortal fables 600 years before Christ. When you wish to win people to your way of thinking, don't forget to use Rule 4. Begin in a friendly way. Beyond misrepresenting Scripture, do unto others because you. Carnegie also actively removes Scripture from its context in order, for instance, to justify his perspective that you should never tell a man he is wrong. By the way, I'm not revealing anything new in this chapter. 19 centuries ago, Jesus said, "Agree with thine adversary quickly." In other words, don't argue with your customer or your husband or your adversary. Don't tell him he is wrong. Don't get him stirred up, but use a little diplomacy. And 2,200 years before Christ was born, old King Akhoti of Egypt gave his son some shrewd advice. Advice that is sorely needed today. Old King Akhoti said one afternoon, between drinks 4,000 years ago, "Be diplomatic. It will help you gain your point." What is infinitely clear here, if nothing else, is that Carnegie thought Christianity important enough to continually nod to Christ and his teachings. But I am curious to know to what extent Carnegie might have been banking on ignorance, because the quote he uses here, at least the quote from Scripture, I am not too familiar with the words of the kings of Egypt, is just only one small snippet of one verse. It is from Matthew 5:25. I know people are picky about their versions of the Bible. If you are an evangelical, King James only reader, you need to extrapolate the context. But the New International Version is direct and clear about the matter. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. Agree with thine adversary quickly when he has taken you to court. This is a much different context than dealing with a customer, spouse, or general adversary, as Carnegie suggests. The bottom line is, Carnegie could not even bother quoting the whole verse, because it would undermine the idea that his wisdom has been around for thousands of years. Carnegie emphasizes throughout his book that you should never criticize or argue with others, to the point, as I have previously noted, of advocating that his reader be nothing short of a people-pleaser. And for these points as well, Carnegie references Scripture, albeit somewhat indirectly, citing Abraham Lincoln and how one of his favorite quotations was, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." Again, whatever your stance on Christianity, this, at the very least, is nothing short of ancient wisdom misconstrued and presented out of context. And in this case, in a way that is still quite popular today. Reading somewhat backwards here, this is also from Matthew, from chapter 7, verses 3 through 5, New International Version, NIV. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye, and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take out the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Stepping back, here are verses 1 and 2, again from the NIV. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. For emphasis, this is the King James Version. Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, you shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Christ does not tell his listener to never judge, or to never argue or criticize. This is a secular and even anti-Christian worldview. But judging from our cultural values of today, apparently the supposedly polite Christian society of the 20th century America must have bought into such ideas, convinced that Carnegie's version of Christianity was the better approach to life, with its agree with thine adversary quickly, for thine sales are at stake. Do unto others, so that ye may get what you want from them. Judge not, at least not out in the open, so ye can take better advantage. And all this with its insincere sincerity, and ingenuine genuineness, and so on. Put another way, where Christ encourages us to fight back against the negative aspects of our humanity so we can better love one another, Carnegie, to reiterate, teaches us how to play into those same negative aspects to get what we want from others. And culturally speaking, it seems clear that the American people long ago bought into this latter perspective as the more perfectly acceptable and appropriate of the two. But I will leave it off there for now, picking back up next time, hopefully with uncracked voice, with critiques of Carnegie's work from a different kind of perspective.